Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome to the Connecting with Coincidence radio show with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, bringing together the world's synchronicity experts to help you use meaningful coincidences to develop spiritually, psychologically, and practically. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence into your web browser to find the book, website, Psychology Today blog, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And now, here is the host of the Connecting with Coincidence radio show, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to CC with BB. Yes, I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and this is Connecting with Coincidence. Last week, I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I visited Meow Wolf, a fantastic voyage through the work of 200 artists within a mystery that began in the drawing room of the two-story house located inside the huge Meow Wolf building. Visitors are encouraged to follow clues, including coincidences, to solve mysteries. After Dr. Beitman bought the ticket and checked things out, he gave over their co-owned body to Dr. Coincidence, who found himself in the jaws of a dinosaur clanging on its teeth like a piano. After finding a place to dance with some people, he wandered back to the dinosaur jaws where he encountered a camera crew which began filming him doing Dr. Coincidence songs and monologues. After the camera person took a very close-up of Dr. Coincidence's left eye, he asked the director whether this video was the real thing, since there were several other mysteries unraveling in front of his eyes. The camera crew was from CNN. Dr. Coincidence might be seen on The Great Big Story. The camera crew thought he was planted there by Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf strengthens our curiosity. Coincidences and their awareness also strengthens curiosity, and curiosity is good for you. Curiosity helps us survive. The urge to explore and seek novelty helps us remain vigilant and gain knowledge about our constantly changing environment. Curious people are happier. Research shows curiosity to be associated with higher levels of positive emotions, lower levels of anxiety, more satisfaction with life. Coincidence awareness is good for your health. Our guest today is Brian Dailey, MD. Brian is a graduate of the University of Rochester School of Medicine. where he was an assistant professor in emergency medicine and a clinical instructor in complementary and alternative medicine. He was selected as one of America's top physicians by the Consumer Research Council of America. He is also a third-degree Reiki Master-Teacher with extensive experience in energetic and vibrational medicine, including the use of CranialSacral therapy, crystals, and color. He has vast experience in sound therapies to induce altered states of consciousness. He has used these methods to treat a wide range of patients, both inpatient and outpatients, with diverse problems such as cancer side effects, neuropathies, fractures, and trauma. He is a member of the professional division and on the board of advisors and board of directors emeritus of the Monroe Institute in Virginia, where I met him. TMI is involved in research in consciousness, remote healing, and out-of-body experiences. Most importantly, Brian has been collaborating for many years in the imaging of energy biofields. And I've been very interested in energy biofields for a long, long time. And I'm delighted to have Brian on the program. Welcome to the show, Brian.
I'm delighted to be here, Bernie. It was great meeting you. One of those synchronicities or coincidences at TMI.
There's some places that just encourage them more than others. I call it coincidentiality is the predisposition for coincidences. And TMI is such a place, located in the hills of Virginia, south of Charlottesville.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful energy there.
And I just showed up there one day. I just picked a day to go there. And I was looking at those pictures and images you have, videos you have of energy fields, and you live in upstate New York, and you showed up. You don't show up there that often, and there you were. I was looking at the pictures, and hey, there's Brian, said the person showing us. So it was a great coincidence, synchronicity to run into you. And I want you to tell us something about one of your favorite coincidences and how you met your wife, Margie.
Oh, yeah. I actually was on the ski team at Clarkson University and went to the nearby ski area and had just come from out west. And out there, you're single and lift line, you yell single, and someone rise up the chair. But in New York, not quite as popular. But the first person that finally said here was this woman I'll never forget, blue jeans, yellow sweater, blue bandana, purple hat. And I got this tingle in my neck, and we rode up the lift and got off and had a nice conversation. I skied down pretty fast, and darn, she kept up with me. And we rode up the lift 6 times in a row, and each time I got more and more infatuated, and I thought, okay, this time I'm going to ask her name, and I get to the bottom, and she's nowhere to be found, and I look all over, and at the last second, look up, see this yellow school bus. She's the last person getting on to ride out of my life, and I thought, blew it. If I ever get a second chance, I will definitely take it. And that was on a Friday evening. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day, first time I ever met her. And that Monday, we crossed paths in the hallway. It turns out we were both chemical engineers at Clarkson. She was a year behind me. And I stopped her in the hall. She gave me her name, and we later married. So I'm actually doing a experiential exercise later. In the Institute, they use sound to create different unusual brainwave states where you can experience different levels of consciousness. And they're showing me setting up coincidences and synchronicities that we would think would be random, where two gentlemen have to meet because they each have half an idea that together will change the world. So it's important they meet. And they gave them several scenarios to meet at this bus stop.
Brian, before you go on to tell
Sure.
the detail about the gentleman, I missed who was talking to you, who was telling you about the scenario.
Well, this is for those that are open to the idea. These were kind of guides or in a place in your head. It occurs at a very high frequency of vibration. It's in a non-physical state.
And in this non-physical state, you get in contact with some kind of information source.
You've got it.
Okay, and the sound waves at that higher vibrational state, which is what kind of vibrational state are you talking about?
Well, it's a non-physical. If you think of water in a low frequency state, it's solid, it's ice. Heat it up, becomes liquid. Heat it up further, becomes steam. You can, it's in a much higher non-physical state. And this is where you kind of take your non-local consciousness. We used to think, when I was in med school, we learned the mind was in the brain. No longer is that the case. Because you have people having out-of-body experiences, people under stage 4 anesthesia who talk about being above the operating table, looking down and hearing conversations going on. So these are very real states for some of us.
Well, one of the important things about you is that you're in this medical field. You're in the business. You've been trained. You've been an emergency room doc. You still do some of that. And yet you're getting into what areas that the modern medicine is not very happy to embrace. And one of the terms you just used was non-local consciousness. Would you explain what you mean by that? You gave some examples of it, but what do you mean by non-local consciousness?
Well, it's actually, what is consciousness? We used to think it was the brain matter and material, but it's actually an awareness kind of in a quantum universe on the outside. And the beauty of that is you can also contact other consciousness and communicate with them at different levels. It's sort of like mom with the eyes in the back of the head. How does she know that? Well, because it's not a physical consciousness, it's a non-local. They know something's going on with their child, and it alerts them. Same thing with
one of the questions I have about this term non-local is it's not non-local means not here, but it doesn't tell me where it is.
Is that part important?
It's part of the problem of the term for me. It's if it isn't local, then what is it? If you can say something what it isn't, but then what is it becomes a question for me.
Well, this gets into quantum physics,
and we'll maybe get a little bit into that in our next segment, and maybe not.
Sure.
And maybe not. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X Zone Broadcast Network. We're talking with Brian Dailey.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome back to CC with BB. Yes, I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and we are speaking with Brian Dailey, MD, about stuff outside of regular mainstream medicine. And we're talking about non-local, and I'm not going to push on trying to get Brian to define what non-local is. Like, if it's not something, then what is it? And then you get into all kinds of speculation. So it's just saying what it's not. It's almost like dark. Well, it isn't like dark energy. It's like I don't like the term non-local because it doesn't tell me what I want to know is what it is. But that's another question. We're talking about the ability to communicate with other minds at a distance in ways that are not understood in conventional terms. And Brian was telling us the story about how he met his wife and then segued into two guys with half of an idea that needed to get together. But he was talking about communicating with some other source of information than we regularly understand. Brian, I want to know how you get to that place where you communicate. And I think we're talking about sound and different vibration and maybe Hemi-Sync to get to this place where then you can hear the voices that talk about the two guys that need to get together.
Sure. You can go to the Monroe Institute site on the web, and they have some background info on this. But the sound is training wheels. It helps you to get to this area.
And then slowly, the sound is training wheels, like training wheels for a bicycle. I just want to be clear about that. And so that means you should be able to ride without the training wheels, and that's what you're trying to say.
It.
Okay.
So that you
the
can
sound is do it by yourself. Okay.
Yeah, you can get there by yourself, and there's multiple areas you can go to learn and get information, get feedback, get guidance, and so the upshot it was important for these two guys to meet, so they had multiple attempts. And we have free will. We can choose not to do these things. But in this case, I had an opportunity riding up the chairlift and didn't take it. And here we meet on the following Monday in the hallway. And these same people who were showing me these two men then showed me that for my wife, there was a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, opportunity to follow along this path. Fortunately, I did it on the second, and we've been happily married ever since. And it turns out we have a lot of synchronicities in our lives why that should happen. So we were talking about biofield imaging during the break. And one of the things, early on, I met Dr. Harry Oldfield. I think it was 1985. And shortly thereafter, Dr. Thornton Streeter, who were doing some biofield imaging. It kind of measures biophotons that are emitted by and reflected from the human surface. And by imaging it, you can get an idea of energy centers, something a lot of us feel exists, but it's, again, one of those things, it's quantum physics that...
By energy centers, you mean also have been called chakras?
Yeah, chakras is one form. Actually, there are multiple chakras.
There are multiple chakras. And before we go to the chakras or energy centers, would you tell us what a biophoton is? Because I want to be clear that it's somehow related to light because it's a photon. But what is a biophoton, Brian?
It's a quantitative... it's just a measure of energy it can be emitted, and there are different kinds of machines, squid machines, super quantum interference conducting, that can measure and quantify these.
But what are they? How are they created?
This is going to get into a long story. We probably might want to spend in other areas because the quantum aspects of it, you have energy levels and they get emitted, would be the simple.
You have energy, and let's just talk about the human body because that's mostly what we're talking about. There are energy levels in the human body, and without going into too much detail, maybe another time, that these energy levels somehow do emit something that's like light.
Correct.
And the important thing for me here, just me, maybe others, is that we are often described as the human body, among other things, as mostly energy, not really solid, and that we have the ability to be like light. And here are these biophotons showing us this in part how we are like light.
Yes, and some people are more perceptive, can actually perceive it. And, when you look at paintings of saints, you'll often see white halos.
Yes.
That were beings of light.
Yes.
And one of the things we found with this imaging is that you can learn to enhance and increase your energy and produce more visible light. And interestingly, consciousness becomes more elevated at the same time. So that recently we submitted an article that's been accepted in a journal where we were imaging people during Reiki attunements, and they literally became brilliant white, iridescent, shining kind of energy at a much higher level. And we've previously noted, and a lot of these people during these events were having kind of transcendent thoughts and connecting with other outside energies.
When I was in Santa Fe and came back, I could feel that my energy had been elevated, and I could almost see responses in other people. But the amazing thing that you've been able to do, and people working like you, is get visual representations of this energy field around us, and that is an amazing, an important step forward. It's been done before. People have done Kirlian photography, but this is something different from Kirlian photography.
Yeah. Dr. Oldfield actually did a lot of Kirlian photography. This provides much more detail, and you can do it real time, so you can see energetic changes. For instance, when a mother picks up her child, you can see the energy fields, interact. When you go to places like Santa Fe or Sedona, you can find in Sedona, they call them vortexes, these energy centers, Bell Rock, Cathedral Rock, and you will get some amazing imaging there. I have a picture of a Reiki master sending energy to the entire Bell Rock vortex, which is really high to begin with. And you're thinking, what can one person do? And then you see the entire valley light up.
Wow.
And you begin to realize that's just one person. So when two people do it, it amplifies even more, and three. So sending great energy and healing to distant areas, like a lot of people do during hurricanes, has a real benefit.
Wow. Well, I used to ask and want to find, and I'm still looking for it from you probably, is to look at the energy field changes between people. And you just mentioned mother and child, which I'm very glad to know you've done.
Sure. And you can also look at it in energy healing, things like Reiki, therapeutic touch. When you look at Dolores Krieger was a PhD in nursing, developed therapeutic touch, sort of a hands-on or can be done hands-off, and showed in dialysis patients in 1973 we didn't have Neupogen and Epogen injections like we do now to elevate blood counts. Normally they're about, instead of 40%, about 21 to 22%. And she had them do a 30-minute session 5 days in a row, and she had a 100% response rate. There are very few studies you see a 100% response rate, where the hematocrits went from 21 to 22% to 38 to 40%.
Wow.
And consequently felt better. No response in the control group. The interesting thing, half the control group said, hey, we've been robbed. So she agreed and treated those and had a 100% response rate in those people with their hematocrits going back into the normal range.
And how about follow-up?
You can get, if it continues to drop later, you can redo them. I found the same thing with cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. They get low white counts and low red counts. You can do a energy session, 30 minutes, and boost them back up to normal. So you do one a week, and it helps improve and reverse some of the side effects, such as hair loss during chemotherapies. And out of that group, a lot of the cancer patients I worked with not only learned Reiki, but became Reiki masters. And we started what's called a Reiki share. It's once a week. It's free, open to the public, so that people can come to experience it and get some of the benefits.
That's really pretty amazing that you can get results like that. I know people with side effects of things and hematocrits that are low and white counts that are low. Be able to get a change like this is a remarkable thing. We've come to the end of this segment. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence. I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. We're on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest is Brian Dailey, and we're talking about human biofields.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, They conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Welcome back. CC with BB. Yes, I'm Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. I'm your host with Connecting with Coincidence, and we are talking with Brian Dailey, a physician, an ER doc, who is into biofields, and not only just taking pictures of them, which we'll get to, but also biofield healing. Brian, you were mentioning in the break that you have data that most healers do not have. Tell us about that.
Oh, sure. I get, it's kind of interesting because people wonder how the more traditional physicians tolerate me, and we have a great professional relationship. And I get asked to see patients in the hospital and on the outside frequently. And in the case of one, we had I won't use their names, but a pickup truck turned over and ejected. The driver was severely injured in the front seat, and the person in the back was thrown and had a large liver laceration. And I actually took care of them when they arrived in the emergency department. Her blood level was 40% when she hit the door, and very shortly went down to 17%.
You mean her blood volume?
Well, her hematocrit level.
Hematocrit,
yeah.
Okay.
And which is an extensive, huge blood loss. She's lost more than half the blood in her body.
Okay.
And she was aggressively transfused because she had ongoing losses, it turned out, from a liver laceration, and got 4 units of blood. And for 3 days...
How many units?
4 units. That's about 2 liters. They're about 500 to 750 milliliters in size.
Okay.
But her hematocrit went up to 27%, still very low, but they were going to wait for it to increase. I actually was asked by the chairman of surgery to see her in the ICU because she had a compression fracture in her back and hadn't been able to get out of bed for 3 days and use the bathroom. So we went up and did about a 40-minute session using sound and energy therapies, Reiki and Hemi-Sync at that time. The SAM sound hadn't come out yet. And she immediately got up, used the bathroom. And when I went back on the 4th day, she was actually illegally out of the ICU. Don't ask me how she got out. And in the lobby, we had to page her overhead to get her back up. But her hematocrit went from 27% to 36% after just 3 treatments. And she had a really marked improvement and was discharged and gotten out of the ICU much faster.
Wow. And what you have is data like that, where you unlike healers who aren't physicians in hospitals. They can't get the data. They can't get the data. They can't show pictures of fractures being healed the way you can.
Okay, actually, I had a 13-year-old with a distal wrist fracture we worked on, and generally they heal in about half the time, and got his cast off at 4 weeks with x-rays, at 4 weeks, showing the healing took place. Actually, the orthopedic surgeon was pleasantly surprised and said, hey, let's take it off now instead of 6 to 8 weeks.
And you have lots of stories like that you can document. And
Numerous.
Well, let's take the woman with the low hematocrit, for example. What did you do in more detail? But more importantly to me, anyway, is how do sound therapies and Reiki help, and crystals? How do they help blood count go up?
Well, I'm in whatever floats your boat. I use a number of things. In terms of the Reiki energy, you can heal the fractures that they have. In this case, she had a liver laceration that they were treating without operating on it. They were trying to, avoid surgery if they could. And so we sent healing energy to that specific area of the liver, also to the second chakra where a lot of blood production occurs, and that's below the belly button, lower down, and also the pelvis, and in younger kids in the sternum where that occurs. The sound can actually, you can, by adjusting different frequencies, produce states of deep relaxation so they feel more calm. There are some that actually aid in improving healing as well. We can use sound in a child with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They're kind of overexcited, you might think, and interestingly, it's beta wavelengths that are used to stimulate the brain that are more wide awake states that actually have a calming influence for them. So in studies that have been done using this, they have shown improved focus, better completion of tasks, and improvement in classroom scores. In one group, they had a church, 2 classrooms side by side with a blanket in between, and the teacher used it on his side to improve concentration. He had a lot of learning disability children. And interestingly, the other side, their classroom scores improved too, because the blankets really weren't an effective sound shield.
And how long do these effects last?
Well, it depends on what you're using them for. While you're listening to them, certainly, but they can also be used to train someone with anxiety. You can put them in a very deep, calm state and then learn to use that sound technique to go there when you're feeling anxious without having to listen to the sound. I actually used it in a psychiatric emergency department. I had a patient who was very anxious and unsettled, and we were really busy. He wasn't going to get seen for a while. Normally, when they're really agitated, we give them some medication to relax, and I just happened to say, hey, would you like to listen to these sounds? You might find it relaxing. And he actually really enjoyed it and went from a hyper anxious, chaotic state to a very relaxed, mellow one in just a matter of 20, 30 minutes.
What have you ever tried treating diabetes with sound and Reiki?
Yes. I haven't personally had as much success with the diabetes itself, although we've improved them. But I have seen other energy therapists make some improvements in diabetes. Some of healers have specific areas they're really good at.
Yeah.
That is one. I personally have diabetes, so I think that I have improved things a lot, but I'm still on insulin. But there are other things like PEMF, pulse electromagnetic fields, developed by Dr. Shealy, Norm Shealy, and Sergey Sorin, that help with wound healing tremendously. And when I had some wound healing issues, I used them in the hospital. They're little kind of 8-inch rings you put around your legs, and they heal dramatically better, and it helped eliminate pain.
I'm getting a bit of an impression about the range of ways in which Reiki and sound can help. But you have diabetes, so you've tried some of these methods to help your diabetes. So and they helped some, but not that much. How come you think that might be?
Because I think the diabetes is here to teach me a lesson, some kind of insight and knowledge. And that maybe I actually had a healer who asked me, if you had one thing, what would you like? And I said, a 3-day vacation from diabetes. And she worked on me for about 30 minutes. And literally, for the next 3 days, I could eat anything I wanted. I actually, because I had an insulin pump on at the time, had to turn it off. And my sugar was dropping. And next nearby was Wegmans, who had the patisserie chocolates. And I went there and ate them. They were absolutely delicious. And then after 3 days, it gradually came back. And then I realized, careful what you ask for. I asked for a 3-day vacation. I should have asked, eliminate my diabetes. But it gave me great insight to realize there are people that can do it. And how do we learn how to do that? That's one of the things I'm still working on.
Yeah, it's right there. What about sleep apnea? Have you tried anything with sleep apnea?
No, I haven't. That's a great idea to try, because that's huge. So many people, it's becoming, I don't know if it's because we have better testing for it, but everyone and their aunt is on a apnea machine, but with improved sleep. And what do we need to do to stimulate? Is it the brain area that would have the best effect? I'm not sure. But that you've given me some food for thought.
Well, good. We're getting kind of near the end of this segment, and the place I'm most interested in is with psychotherapy. I sit with patients. I know we create a dual energy field between us. I know that energy field, it can be strong. I mean, it can be sometimes be like we're in a cocoon together of energy, and sometimes we can be sitting in the same room and the patient is off in the distance someplace, and we're quite separated. And I'll continue this discussion in our last segments. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence with your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest is Brian Dailey, MD.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Christopher Fulton is a survivor of the national security state. All he wanted to do was preserve history when he acquired a Cartier watch from the estate of President Kennedy's personal secretary. But that simple act set off a terrible chain reaction. He was pursued by the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, thrust into the middle of the U.S. government's Assassination Records Review Board, even monitored and pursued by the Russian government. All because that Cartier watch was the missing link of evidence, a timepiece worn by JFK that fateful day in Dallas, a link resulting in Christopher being incarcerated and attacked for 9 years because he opened a hidden chapter in history. The intriguing journey outlined fully in Christopher Fulton's memoir, The Inheritance, is available now through TrineDay.com or Amazon.com. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination by Christopher and Michelle Fulton is a must-read, an incredible tale of how easily our own government can overrule justice. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination.
All right, we got CC with BB. I'm BB. This is CC. We're talking to Brian Dailey. And Brian, I want to go back to what we talked about in our first segment about getting to a place of higher vibrational level where you can tune in to some sort of information source. How do you get there, and what kind of information do you get?
Well, it's like I say, they'll use gamma wavelengths in particular. 40 hertz is one that is often associated with extraordinary states of consciousness. When they actually put portable EEG on biathlon skiers that ski some distance and then in literally a minute come to a series of targets they shoot at, they slow their heart rate down from 200 to 100. And if they're really good and hit the bullseyes, they're usually at this 40 hertz range. You'll see that with Buddhist meditators and such. And it gets into the Rosenhammer effect and discussion, but it's you also can see it at 70 hertz and at 100 hertz, but 40 in particular is one. And what they do at the Institute, at Monroe Institute, is take you to that 40 hertz state by using a new technique called SAM, S-A-M, Spatial Angle Modulation, because a Hemi-Sync is basically 0 to 20 hertz. And you can learn to get to that state very quickly. What used to take years of meditation to learn to go there, you can literally go there in seconds by intention once you've learned to get there in the first place, guided by the sound.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And I'm particularly interested in like around 7.8 hertz, the Schumann resonance basic vibration level. At that level, what happens around 8 or 7.8 hertz?
Well, you're in the theta range, and there's some great consciousness effects there. But the Schumann resonance has been spiking. It's been gone up above 40 up to 100 hertz more recently. So some of the question is, the Schumann has been at 7.8 for years.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had one of those eureka moments where you get insight, that happens at around 8 hertz in the theta range when you get a Hemi-Synchronous, both lobes with the brain connected. Rather than being left or right brain dominant, you become whole brain state. And that's, again, one of the things that Hemi-Sync's great at, to teach you to go there.
And that's a place where you get eurekas?
And that's a eureka moment. And instead of having to spend long periods of time to meditate to get there, I won't mention their name, but there was a GM engineer who was also a trainer at the Monroe Institute. And they came up to him and said, so-and-so, we need to do something about pollution in vehicles. And he looks to them like he's just thinking for a minute or two. He's gone to this theta state and then sketches out the first catalytic converter ever built. He has a patent on it. He retired at age 25.
Wow.
So that's how this can be really constructively helpful. So if I get a particular problem where we're designing some equipment. My research was in laser surgery and surgical applications. We just go to that area and think about it and contemplate, and very often an answer came to you. It's really a wonderful practical application.
Trying to get into the theta state.
Theta and several others.
Several others. I mean, it's not just one. It's 40 hertz is also another one. And the different qualities we can't get into today, but the Schumann resonance change. The Schumann resonance is created by lightning sending out electromagnetic waves between the ionosphere and the Earth's crust.
Sure.
And these lightning bolts create a big sine wave that goes around the world, and it has different resonances within it, with 7.8 being the basic resonance. And it's like our minds have evolved within the Schumann resonance. And that's probably why our brains have mostly stayed between like theta and the like 40 or 50 hertz all this time, because our brains are running around between like 4 hertz and 50 or 60 hertz. But now with the Schumann resonance increasing sometimes to 100, what does that mean about how it's affecting our own human biofield and our own human EEGs?
Well, a lot of us think it's raising consciousness. You've got, what some people call indigo children. I have a nephew that was, and that are very perceptive. Mm-hmm. And at age 3.5, my sister called me up because she thought he was having out-of-body experiences. And when I talked to him, he's 3.5, mind you. I talked to him on the phone. Yeah, they go to night school. And there's 20 kids or so he knows there, and he knows them extremely well, their names and such. And what was really amazing is when he went to kindergarten, 2 of the kids in his night school class were in his kindergarten class, and he knew who they were, what, their names, what they liked, didn't like. That knowledge at his night school transferred over into real life. And it makes you wonder about integration and how we're, as a human consciousness, amongst all of us, how we're starting to connect more and more.
That is what I think. And you're saying it more, that I like being in contact with younger people because they're coming up with stuff that it took me a long time to figure out, and they've got it. And I'm wondering how that happens. And I thought it was partly evolution of ideas. There are ideas out there all the time, and that they pick it up earlier because it's out there where it wasn't out there so much before. But now to put the Schumann resonance together with indigo children, and also a book called Childhood's End, which describes the same thing, where people, sometime in the future, the kids start having telepathic capacities and other things, and start finding each other and start banding together, and the adults don't know what's going on at all with these kids.
Oh, yes. And thoughts are energy. So if you're really sensitive to energy, a lot of people can perceive thoughts. You would call it telepathy, but there's someone at the Institute. We were back-to-back working on computers, and I thought out to myself, I wonder what's for dinner tonight. And the other person says out loud, Irene's fried chicken. And I think to myself, I love Irene's fried chicken. It's the best. And he says out loud, yes, me too. And I suddenly realized, and they don't normally talk about it because people are really weird after that, like, oh, what am I thinking? And there's a third person, the 3 of us are talking, and I thought, what a nuts. Actually, it was more rude than that. And I thought, I wonder if, and the other person didn't change facial pattern or anything. But after the person walked away, said, yeah, I think so too.
I'm getting to start doing something like that with my patients, where
Sure.
I can look into their minds. It's been getting easier to do that. And one of the questions I now have for you as we get near the end of our show is I have a new patient, 20 years old, and she's so constrained and constricted within herself. I can see like a huge wall in her mind around her, let me say, true self or authentic self. And she can't get out from that wall. She's had to protect herself behind that wall. And I can get through it over time with engagement and looking and being kind and listening and empathic and stuff. It's going to take a long time. I could see just doing something different to get through. What would you do with a person like that, Brian?
First, I wonder if she had some extreme abuse in an early age that she put those walls up. But, something we haven't talked about yet, but crystal bowls.
Yeah. I love those.
You have them play it. I have a big 22-inch, it's E, the stomach chakra. Where do we keep a lot of our, nervous and anxiety? I feel this tightness in the pit of my stomach. That's the third chakra closing down. And they just play it for a few minutes. And they don't know why, but they feel much better. And that's because it's just opened things up. I have little practitioner bowls, bigger bowls, but people really resonate literally with them. And they find, they can feel totally different. I did a talk at the Verde Valley Medical Center. We had 50 bowls going at the same room. And everybody just felt magical afterwards.
I've been with some Tibetan crystal bowls. It's just, I know what you mean, and trying to be able to get through the wall of this person. It becomes like you've given me some indirect help with this. But Brian, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show, talking with you, learning from you. It's great to have a fellow physician getting into this crazy stuff and being able to show data for it and to be able to have experiences with it and to understand it as well as you do. So thank you for being with us.
Great being here and great to be able to share our craziness.
Yes. You've been listening to Connecting with Coincidence, your host, Bernie Beitman, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Thank you, Brian Dailey, for being with us today.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.